here we are back with more confessions of a Windedicker. So I was thinking this morning, and imagination. I'm sure that probably very much like me, that as a child, you used your imagination. You may have played doctors and nurses, mums and dads, whatever it was that you did as a child. For me, the housing estate that we grew up on had this big, massive green outside the house, almost the size of a football pitch. And every summer they would come and the council would cut the grass. To this day, I still love the smell of freshly cut grass. And it takes me straight back to being a kid. It just invokes their memories. Then, of course, as we grow up and then we go into secondary school. And when we go into secondary school, they seem to swap imagination for information. And they cram our minds full of maths, English, science, chemistry, history, whatever it might be. They bombard our minds with all of this information. And the reason for them doing this is because you're going to become an adult and you then need to go off into the system of the 40-40-40 rule. Work for 40 hours a week for 40 years. I can't remember what the last 40 years, but basically just do that until you die. Thanks. Cheery thought for a Sunday. So after we come out of secondary school, and that's not to say that in our early teens or in our 20s that we probably don't actually use our imagination. We start working, we're learning so many new things, we're full of confidence, and off we go into this adult world. But it does seem that somewhere along the way that the only time we ever use our imagination is to drive fear, is to think the worst. So it could be anything. It could be, oh, I want to learn to drive, but you'll have this little voice in your head, oh, what if I fail? But here's the thing. Are we worried about failing for us, or are we worried about failing because of judgment of others? And so our mind suddenly goes down this dark path of imagining and catastrophizing all the absolute worst things that can happen. It might be a relationship. Oh God, it's going to end. All of my relationships end. Doing learning a new job. Oh, well, I won't go for that job because I'm never going to be able to do that because I've never been able to do it. And we have this tendency of always thinking the worst thing. But what if our imagination was the very thing that is the difference between fear and success, or success and failure rather, the way that we think? Now, let's face it, we are bombarded by negativity. Speaking to my brother this morning, and he's off work at the moment, he's had his knees replaced, and so therefore he's found himself on the internet. And what he said to me is, obviously the things that are there at the moment, there's the fires in LA, which I believe somebody started. Forgive me if I sound ignorant, but I do not watch the TV. I do not pick up a newspaper. I do not listen to the radio. I don't want to know what's going on in the world. Now, that isn't to say that I don't find out, but the reason why I don't want to know, I choose to put myself first, and I don't have all of this negativity and getting sucked into all these things that are going on, which, quite frankly, let's face it, we don't have any control over. And when we focus there and we get sucked into this fear, into this negativity, it affects us. It affects us mentally. It affects our thoughts. It affects how we feel. And believe it or not, all of those things are actually affecting your physical health as well as your mental health. Mental health has increased dramatically. It is at an all-time high since coming out of COVID. And our poor kids that are growing up are obviously always on the internet, they have always got technology in their hands. And I'm sure that this negativity, this, you know, the fear, the wars, the fires, the rapes, the killings, the stabbings, on and on it goes. What effect is that all having on us? Someone that I love dearly was constantly fearing that they was going to lose their job, that they was going to lose their home, always imagining the worst case scenario. Would you like to know what the result of that thinking was? Psychosis. That is actually now imagining the absolute worst things. That's like living in a daily nightmare, but actually believing that the nightmare is true. And to actually watch someone trapped in their own mind and in their own thoughts is completely heartbreaking. And feeling like you're helpless, like there's nothing you can do. You talk to them, but they're just not hearing it because they're stuck in this belief this is real. And no matter what you do, you can't do anything. You can't do anything to change it. So how? How can we change this almost addiction to these negative thoughts and feelings? The first instance, switch the TV off, never watch the news again, be very careful about what you go on social media, and just stay the hell away from all of it, would be my suggestion. But however, I do appreciate that's not for everyone. Or do you know that your brain does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined? I'm sure that you have had a nightmare and you've woken up from that nightmare with your heart racing, and then very first few seconds it feels so real, until of course you tell yourself, it's just a nightmare. I know, I've definitely been in that place, and I've woken up on many an occasion absolutely either terrified or crying because I've imagined something really bad happening. But what if you used your imagination for good? And what if this is the very thing that will actually allow you to have the health that you want now, whether that is mental health or whether that is physical health, but it's the very, very thing that is what you need to use in order to start at point B. So if you haven't watched my earlier video about us being taught wrong, then do go back and watch it. But the gist of it is we've generally been taught that in order to have what we want, we have to start where we are now, and then we're doing certain actions that are going to take us to point B. So in terms of your health, let's just say, for example, you're overweight, and so you want to get to a point that you lose, I don't know, 1 stone, 2 stone, 5 stone, it doesn't matter. But either way, you are trying to get from A to B. So what we believe, what we've been taught is, right, so to get to point A to point B, I'm at point A, and point A is not good enough. I am not good enough like this, so I must do, I have to, or I need to do something. It's conditional. It's conditional that in order to feel like how I'm going to feel when I'm over there and I've lost the weight, these are the things I have to do. And a lot of those things, let's face it, are actually, be it starving yourself, depriving yourself of the foods that you want to eat. It's hard work. And even when you go into it, you're thinking, this is going to be difficult. Quitting smoking, it's going to be difficult. I'm going to struggle. I'm depriving myself of a cigarette, and it's going to be difficult. So in the video, what I explain is that if you actually start from point B, which is the end result, where you are going to end up. So now this can be done for absolutely anything. It is not limited to your health. It can be done to start that new job, to start that new relationship, to have a better relationship, whatever it might be, step into how you would love to feel. And then what will happen is you will actually take aligned actions. You will take actions that you want to do. You don't have to do them. You don't need to do them. It's not something you must do. Actually, it's something you want to do. So I want to get up and I want to go to the gym. Another way of looking at this is, what would my future self do? This person that's in the end result, what would they do? What are they eating? What are they feeling? Who are they being? What beliefs do they have? Are they confident? Do they believe in themselves? Are they successful? Do they believe they're successful? So for me personally, I have chosen to share this message with regards to health, to give you some tools that will help you to have the health that you deserve. I want to help you to change your health for the better. So why? Why do I want that? Fundamentally, as a child, I hated seeing things suffer. Now, you're probably going to laugh at this, but here comes the Winderdicker. So, you see spiders getting squashed, and I'd actually get upset. Why did you do that? It's God's creature and you've just killed it. But in my mind, right, that spider suffered when someone squashed it. Now, I have no idea whether it did or whether it didn't, but however, I'm sure it didn't feel that great. And at 13, I watched my mum go through chemo for a week at a time for 3 months. And to think about it still upsets me to this day. She was such a strong person, and to see her crying and suffering physically, mentally, was like a torment. And again, I was still helpless to do anything about it. I was 13. What can I possibly do? Later, I watched my sister going through exactly the same thing. And I now work in a hospital. And when I go to work, I have seen so many patients that are suffering. But what I choose to do about it is I go in with the choice that I'll do whatever I can to make their day better, whether it be making them laugh or whether it be talking to them and giving them a different way of looking at something, a different way of looking at their health. So just like I'm sharing with you, I've shared this many a time with the patients in the hospital that I've worked with. So how can you change your imagination? So if you close your eyes but open up your imagination to see yourself with the body and the health that you want to experience, that you want to have, and to really feel into those emotions, to feel into those beliefs. Now, you can ask yourself and write these things down. What is it? What is it that I want? Who is it that I will be when I have that? What will I look like? How will I feel when I'm looking in the mirror? What will I believe about myself? Having written it all down and thought about it, then yet to close your eyes and actually step into that version of you, that future version. And I promise, doing this visualization, right, you're probably thinking, really, can that make that much of a difference? I do it every single day. Now, it isn't to say that I don't have the odd wobble with fears and doubts, because I do. But then instantly I can close my eyes, picture a moment in the future me that I'm becoming, and that will instantly bring up those same emotions. And here's the thing, not only will it instantly make you feel better. And that is a choice. You can choose to feel better. We have free will. We have the free will to decide how you want to feel on any given day. No matter what is going on around you, what do I want to feel? And feeling into that does give you the motivation to start taking aligned actions, to do those things that you want to take the actions that you want to take, to behave the way that you want to behave. When you're this fit, healthy you, what behaviours are you going to have? What foods are you going to be eating? And it isn't from a place of starvation and deprivation, because doing it this way, do you know what? If you want a McDonald's, you want a KFC, you can have it. There is nothing that's restricted. Some people think surgery is the way to go to lose weight, but I promise you this, and I've worked with countless bariatric patients that have had the gastric sleeve and the gastric bypass. Not only is that a massive, massive operation, it's big. The effects are you cannot eat properly for the next 4 weeks coming out of that surgery. There are certain foods that you will never have again. You'll never have a fizzy drink again. You most certainly won't be having a KFC or a McDonald's again. However, I have complete and utter admiration for anyone that actually has the courage to go forward with that. Because it makes me ask, what is it that they believe? What do they think if they're that desperate to get to being healthy that they're willing to pretty much put their life at risk every time you go under an anaesthetic? Now, that isn't to say for the most part everyone's fine, but not always is the truth of the matter. It's not always. So the chances are really, really small, but it is a possibility. And you know what? Because of all that's going on in the world, there's never been a better time to share this message. What are you listening to on a daily basis that is influencing your thoughts and your feelings? Because let's face it, there is nothing ever positive, or almost nothing ever positive, that is shared on the news, in the newspapers. It's always coming from a place of fear, from a place of judgment, from a place of hate even. So I make that choice to not get sucked into that. And that is something that you could choose for yourself. If it's having that effect on you, make the choice. Give yourself the gift of not allowing that into your headspace, to not allow it to nest in your mind, that you are then constantly having all of these negative thoughts because your environment is surrounded by it. And I want to end with this. Every single person that is watching this video is enough. You don't have to have anything. You don't have to have a big house. You don't have to have the car. You don't have to have loads of money. You don't even have to have the body. You are not a body. You merely live in a body. It is not conditional. You are who you just are enough. It's not something that's conditional. And when you actually step into that, which is exactly what I did, which is what led me here. All my life I'd had this feeling that I wasn't good enough. All my life I had a feeling that I had to prove that I was good enough to everyone, because if I didn't believe it, how on earth can anyone else believe that I'm good enough? I didn't think they thought I was good enough. So I was always in this cycle of trying to prove that I was, trying to do the right thing, trying to do the good thing. Now, I'm not saying that made me a bad person, but what it did make me do was put everybody else above me. And by stepping into that, stepping into the fact that you are enough, of loving yourself unconditionally, of accepting your flaws. There are none of us perfect. I most certainly am not perfect, and I'm yet to find anyone that is. And by actually accepting that, and actually, that's okay. I don't have to be perfect. My intentions are good. I am a good person. I want to do the best thing for myself and for other people, but give to yourself first. When you give yourself the gift first, you will then give so much more to everybody around you, and it will change your whole life. From a mental health point of view, you will never have to worry about mental health ever again. So I thank you for listening, and I hope, my hope and my intention is that some of the things that I've said may have given you some insights into the fact that we don't have to take the path that we have always taken, the path that we have been taught to take. We can choose a different way. And I can only speak for myself, but from choosing that different way has made a massive difference. The people that I have worked with that have embraced this different way, the changes in their life has been extraordinary, not only in their health, but by changing their health, it has rippled out into every other area of their life. So my question is this: what have you got to lose? Just try and imagine this future you and really step into that and see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, you haven't lost anything. You are still exactly where you are today. But maybe that might be the very key to why you've never succeeded before, and why doing this will take you to anything and everything that you want in your life.